What's up, guys? So yeah, this is my first video on this channel, which is not my DVD collection, and this is the top 10 biggest horror cliches in the genre. So yeah, this is a different kind of video. So I've not really seen many of people put these up on YouTube of horror cliche countdowns, so I decided to make one myself. So yeah, I looked over a few films, big films, and I tried to pick up points which isn't related to every horror film. So I decided to make a list of 10 of them, which is really relevant to many horror films as a whole. So yeah, first one. Everybody in horror films seems to be an idiot. You get a group of people, okay? So they decide, you know what's going to be good? Let's split up. Let's split the group up. So, yeah, you take off, let's see, go to Friday the 13th. You've heard about Camp Crystal Lake. So what do? You decide to go 20 years later to Camp Crystal Lake. Good idea. That's a great idea. Where the biggest serial killer he's been said to have died and be dead, but in all fact, you have a little idea that he might not be. So yeah, they decide to go to that place where it all happened. But yeah, this doesn't happen all the time, does it? Well, it does. Every film, it seems to be the same story. They say, oh, the killer's not dead, but in all fact, yeah. Sorry, the killer is dead, but in all fact, they're not. And yet, they all take their own little role in the film, and they all decide to split up, and they end up basically just committing suicide, because that's what the film is basically showing. And yeah, it happens in every film. There's always a group of people that, it's a bunch of, I know I'm a teenager myself, but it's a bunch of teenagers that just do that, split up with their partners or something, and they end up getting killed off by one by one. So yeah, the second cliche, the car never starts when you want it to start. So yeah, you're getting chased by the killer, and of all times you want your car to start before you're going to get your body stabbed, and it doesn't start. So yeah, this always happens in films. Every time. This is a cliche in horror films. You know, the one time you want your car to start, it never does. And the fact is that most horror villains are on foot, and for transportation in the films, to have a car in this situation is a plus sign. But in all honesty, when you have it, it doesn't even start. So that's basically a big cliche over the horror film. I know it brings the suspense into it. Obviously not starting. Oh, what's going to happen here? Well, we all know what's going to happen. But yeah, in the part at the end of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where the car actually comes to the rescue of the character, and yeah, the part where she's chased by Leatherface, she gets into a moving vehicle and drives away. So this is probably the only one film where the vehicle comes into effect, but the rest of the films it really doesn't. So that was the second cliche. The car never starts. Okay. Number 3, bad cell phone reception. Again, a cliche. The phones do not, just like the cars do not work. The phones do not work. And it's very difficult to find reliable phone reception in a horror film. So if you need to talk to someone, you better get, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something. I think you should you should carry a pigeon or a carrier pigeon around with you. Give a little note to send away to to get you help, because that's probably going to be the best option. And as we see at the beginning of horror films, always the phone comes to the downfall. I mean, they never get anyone on the line, and even if they do, they end up getting cut off by the killer. It always cuts off the line, so, and they get murdered pretty quickly. So yeah, if future horror victims are allowed to run about, and they don't want to be tied to chairs and get blowtorched and get stabbed, then the only way is to get a really good, decent cell phone reception. But that's the cliche of this. There is none. You always get a bad cell phone reception in a horror film. Number 4. There is always one guy who ruins everything for the group. So, if the heroes in the horror film try to come up with a survival scenario, and one of them will eventually screw it up and usually make a mistake, and it's usually the alpha male character. And sometimes the alpha male idiocy can lead to it leads to a fight with the serial killer. And when you watch the film, you're like, yeah, you feel a little bit of assurance towards that character, and you think it's going to be a good fight. He's big enough to stand up against the serial killer, but then, in all honesty, he ends up getting killed off anyway. So yeah, number 4 there. There's always one guy who ruins it for everybody. Okay, this one's going to be a bit controversial, but I'll just say it anyway. The black guy always dies in a horror film. It's a fact, really. Look at horror films, it happens. So yeah, there's always one horror cliche, this one, where the black guy always dies first. Well, this is the case with Scream 2. The black character in the film, well, there's 2 actually. They go to a cinema, and yeah, they're like, so he goes to the bathroom, and we all know what happens. He gets basically killed. And yeah, that's the first 2 kills in the film, is of the couple by a guy in a white mask. So there you go. The black guy always dies in a horror film. There's never one horror film that there's not one black character that doesn't die. So that's another cliche in horror. Number 6, the killer never seems to die. So invincibility is never a good foundation for tension in a horror film, and yet horror films usually tend to go to this degree to make suspense in a horror film. So for the most part, horror films will either end with the killer killing everybody, or at least 1 or 2 survivors will turn the tables on the killer and kill him. But regardless of how many times they put him down, he'll get back up again. And yeah, you can make this claim. I've made this claim with Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween. They always seem to do something that would kill any human being, but never kill the serial killer. And yet, we'll take Friday the 13th, I think it's part 5. Jason gets hung under, and there's like a big huge block, and with a chain on it, he gets hung in the water, and yet he's hanging there, and he's basically choking to death, and he gets back up again. You just see him float back up, and again, that's a cliche in horror. So yeah, that's one of the biggest cliches in horror, that the killer never seems to die. Number 7 is that the adult authority in the film are completely useless. So you get sometimes the victims will run and seek help of the adult authority, such as the police, but obviously one of the police officers will be a family member of one of the characters, such as Nancy's dad was a cop from the Nightmare on Elm Street films. So yeah, usually that is the case, but there's always one guy that really is no good towards the other characters. So yeah, it always seems that they put the whole police department towards the one serial killer, one guy, and they cannot seem to basically take care of the matter. And yeah, they are a useless figure in the genre. So yeah, and just like on Friday the 13th, not Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Nancy's dad actually dies. A skeleton Freddy comes and basically just kills him. So there you go, and that's an example of the adult authority being pretty useless in a film. Another horror cliche, which I think is number 8. Yep. There never seems to be any guns in horror film situations. If killers or victims carried more guns, horror films would be over quicker. Whether it is a pistol or a shotgun or something, the ability to blow someone's brains out across the street would basically simplify matters and basically just drastically change the whole scenario of the horror film. And filmmakers claim that guns are too impersonal towards the scene and the scare factor, which, yeah, zombie films are probably the only film that really uses guns, obviously because there's a lot of them. But yeah, I think there should be more people running about with guns when there's a guy chasing you around trying to kill you, rather than there being with you with a blade in your hand. I think it would come to more better use if you started carrying guns around. Mostly the films in America tend to push towards gun control. I suppose in films and stuff they don't want you to expose with guns and stuff, but yeah, really you should really, in future horror films, you should really try and adapt to using a little bit more artillery or guns towards your film. It will be a little bit better. It'll be a bit more classic to see. So okay, number 9. This is a big one as well. Sex in horror films will get you killed. Again, there's not one horror film where there's not at least one sex scene, and that tends to end up with them both dying. Yeah, whilst doing it, or after they've done it. And yeah, I'm gonna roll some off the top of my tongue. There's Friday the 13th of the first film. Oh wait, the second film, the third film. There usually is, every film there's at least one scene where it doesn't. Let's see, Halloween as well. Halloween 1. Don't think 2, no, not 2. 4, I think, yeah, 4 there is. 5 there is. Yep, there's 6 there is. There's a lot of deaths whilst having sex. That's one cliche in a horror film. And yeah, I don't know, so yeah, there's one other cliche which happens in films, that's sex will guarantee you getting killed. So if you're in the dark woods, just because it's secret and secluded, don't do it, because you don't know, someone with some maniac wielding an axe could either come and chop you up. And yeah, that will not be a happy ending, to be honest. And the last one. There never seems to be a part in a film where the women in the film can't run without either tripping up or falling down. Yeah, horror movies try to pick the one lady who survives the film, but as men have a much lower survival rate, the gender trade is shown through the female usually getting the main role at the end of the film. And yeah, as I said, they're usually the ones at the end of the film that usually fall over or hurt themselves whilst trying to escape the serial killer. And yeah, sometimes they're wearing shoes like high heels and stuff, which makes matters worse. And sometimes they trip over branches and trip over their own feet and all that. And yet, that is one. That's not the biggest, but that's another cliche, which is usually in horror films. They usually can't go without falling over. They usually keep doing it in every film. So by the time you keep watching films and watching them, it usually doesn't come to a surprise when they do it. It is basically a formality that they'll do it, and that at the end of the day we know that they're going to fall over and narrowly get caught, or narrowly miss getting caught by the serial killer. So yeah, that was just a I don't know, like an introduction towards my channel by giving you top 10 horror cliches. It was something different. I looked on YouTube, I didn't really see many people that put horror cliches up, so I decided to put this one up. And hopefully if you watch this video you will enjoy it. So yeah, thanks for watching this video if you do, and see you guys later.